And yet I sit here and I feel like I've done nothing.
No, it's your humbleness and generosity.
I feel like there's so much more left to do and that God wants to do. And I was just thinking this morning, actually, how do I have to be at this point in time? Because, in our lives, we are dictated, for a lot of us, especially when we experience busyness in our day-to-day life, we're dictated by time. And whatever is happening in that moment in time. And when I think of the last year and a half, and I think of what is the signal of time at this point, it's very much like a mirror that's facing the self, which is take a good, long look at yourself, clean up your act, sort yourself out, and start making your life a qualitative one. I think before that, of course, I'd hear a lot of complaints from people. We're too busy. We don't have enough time for ourselves. We don't have... And then when there's enforced isolation, we have all the time in the world, but we don't know how to be with ourselves. And so a big part of then the busyness we adopt is a busyness that's a distractive busyness. It's a distraction away from doing the work we need to do to clean our minds and our hearts. And I would say reorganize and realign our value system again. We've been carried in the wave of so many things, so many influences, the wave of the influences of our families, our friends, our cultural context, our businesses, our work context, perhaps even, influences from other cultures when they're brought into the work context. Work ethics are so different in the West as in the East. And so when you have, because of globalization, you have so many teams coming together that are multicultural. You have such a cross, if you like, influence of different cultures also. And in the middle of all of that, one begs the question, who am I? Who am I in the middle of all this? And for me, meditation is the journey back to my sense of self, to be able to reclaim who I really am and to start to feel at home again inside myself. And at the same time, it's not about disconnecting from society. It's more about repositioning my sense of self, my personal anchor, my grounding inside myself, where I can feel so comfortable in my values, in my own skin, that I'm in a much more secure position to relate to people outside of me. Right? The reason why we get influenced and we get attached and we get drawn outside of ourselves is because we don't know ourselves. And the interesting thing is the process of knowing oneself is actually the path of spirituality. And within the path of spirituality, the tool of meditation is essential. Now, of course, there's various schools of meditation out on the market. And there's a lot of meditations that will teach you to maybe chant a mantra, do some visualizations, maybe say some things. But within Raj Yoga, we have a 3-step process that helps us to start realigning. And the first is being. The second is feeling. And the third is thinking. Now, why do I put it in this order? I'll give you a little example. We talk about, there's a lot of people in the world today that know about the soul. There's a lot of knowledge about Atma, the soul, etc. There's a huge group of people that know about the soul. Then there's a smaller group of people that believe they are souls. They accept that they are spiritual in nature originally. Okay? And so they believe, yes, I am a soul and I am spiritual in nature, and I meditate because I reconnect with that. That's the second group. But there's an even smaller group that live as souls amongst souls. So it's going beyond knowing, believing, and it's living, being it, so that a whole new perception. When my awareness becomes spiritual, my perception becomes spiritual. My attitude becomes spiritual. And then my words become spiritual. My actions become spiritual. The seed is my awareness, which is why I always say we start with being. Now, for many, many people, because we've gotten, I suppose action brings its own flavor. I remember many, many years ago when I used to be at the Global Retreat Center, the Brahma Kumaris Retreat Center in Oxford. We used to host retreats for professional communities. And one of them would be a social workers and social workers managers retreat. And we would watch a group of burnt out people arrive at the door of the center on Friday afternoon. And by Sunday afternoon, they would be leaving with light shining from their faces. And throughout the course of the weekend, almost every retreat that we had linked to social workers, all of them started having these light bulb realizations that they had become addicted to action as a means of feeling good in themselves. So they would only feel good if they were helping another, coaching another, mentoring another. But if they were left alone, they felt depressed. It was quite an interesting revelation. And at the same time, they wanted to help everybody, but they were burning out in themselves. There was an aspect of attention on the self and self-care that was missing in the process. So as we started to explore the path of meditation as a tool to rebalance service of the self and service of others. Now, I'm going to clump service of others, many different things. It could be a workplace, it could be a family, it could be a cultural, it could be a volunteerism, whatever it is. It's your outward facing karma, right? In which you're part of a bigger cooperative and community and society in which you're contributing to something. But that has to be offset with service with yourself. If you lose the balance of that seesaw, your mind will suffer. It is absolutely guaranteed, because you will be driven by the influences of where you put too much of your attention to. If constantly my attention is outside on something, or constantly, guess what? Suddenly that thing is what starts to control me. If I learn to train to keep the inner eye of my attention on myself, one eye on myself, one eye outside, then I will never lose myself in what I have to do. And I can build a bridge of communication. I can build a bridge to share my thoughts and feelings to the world, instead of developing a reactive mode, which is what happens for many of us, because we're so out there that we end up living life in a reactive state, right? And then we go through the passive aggressive scale. So what is a reactive? In social science, they've defined 4 types of reactions within the human nature. The first is the reaction of just withdrawing. Something is too much. So it's called the turtle reaction. You just withdraw, cut. You cut mentally, you cut emotionally. If you can cut, you cut physically. It's a coping mechanism. Every reaction is just a means to cope. But we've started to believe reactions are a normal state to live in because we're so out there. The second reaction is the teddy bear reaction, which is trying to make everybody else feel better, but not really knowing how you feel yourself. Yeah, so you carry the weight of the situation, you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, but then if somebody asks you, how do you feel? You have no idea how you feel. And then there comes a time when you can't carry anything anymore and you blow up. And then the third type of reaction I've categorized as a shark reaction, which is attack is the best form of defense, right? So very much, you live out in the world constantly in a semi-attack mode. And then the fourth reaction I've outlined is called the fox reaction. And the fox reaction is an overuse of your rational mind. So you try and outthink everything in trying to prevent you from feeling the emotional, pressure of it. You then try to outthink it. So the fox, for example, will tell a story about a situation. Someone's sad. Well, for a fox, they'll start saying, oh, they're sad because something happened in their childhood and because of this and because of that. And they'll make a nice long story about it, but they won't just sit there and acknowledge, well, I feel sad because they're sad. So all of these are reactions that we have adopted because we've given so much of our awareness and vision and time and energy outside. And so we're just pushing back as a reaction outside. And the moment we start to actually practice meditation, what are we doing? We're starting to let go. It is a process of letting go, where whatever is outside is outside. Now I have to turn my attention and step inside. And imagine your mind like a pool of water. So when it has been overstimulated by triggers from the outside, there's too many ripples in the pond. You can't see clearly inside. But when you actually release yourself from those triggers for a period of time, what happens in your mind is that the energy in your mind starts to settle. And then it becomes like a clear pool, that crystal clear, that you can see the depth. You can start to see your own beauty inside. When the pool is constantly being disturbed and triggered, you cannot see yourself clearly, and you cannot feel your qualities clearly. And so then you get caught in this vicious cycle of validation, needing appreciation, needing acknowledgement to move forward. It's such a trap. So meditation at its very base and core builds a foundation of solid self-respect. Because the moment I let go and I allow the pool of my mind, the mental energy of my mind to settle, by itself, the spiritual being inside will start to share its fragrance with you. You'll start to feel goodness come through. Maybe a thought will pop up in your mind. Maybe a feeling will open up in your mind. It's a very natural process, because the person we've suppressed the most is ourselves. And if you don't stop when you stop suppressing yourself, you take the lid off, suddenly that person can start to breathe again. And the soul is a very intelligent energy. And so the soul will communicate with you. Trust what happens when you sit peacefully for a few moments. Now, I will tell you one thing. In our culture and lifestyle today, we have gone too much to an extreme in our activity, where we have lost ourselves completely in either our work, in our relationships, in our home life. And so internally, the soul feels a bit lost. It feels a bit disengaged. It feels like, okay, I might have everything, but why am I not happy with what I have? Why don't I feel content? Where's my sense of mental satisfaction and peace? Well, don't worry, it's all there. It's just you can't see it at that point. So it's really important that step one in the process of being, we have to relearn how to relax again. Physically and mentally relax. That is step one, because relaxation is a releasing. You know, how often do you just sit down in a day and just breathe? And I'm not talking about pranayama exercises. No, that's like still a focused activity. I'm talking about just sitting in a chair peacefully and just being so aware of your breath and just being aware of where you are now, right now. So let's do that right now. Wherever you are, I want you to sit up straight. Now I'm going to take you through a little relaxation exercise that will help release this kind of sometimes tension that builds up in our bodies and psyches. So wherever you are, just allow yourself to become fully present, both feet on the floor, and bring your wandering mind into the present moment now, because you exist now. The past has happened. The future is yet to come. You are alive in this moment now. Now for a few moments, I'd like you to tighten all the muscles in your feet and your legs. Make them as tight as you can. Your thigh muscles, calf muscles, your feet. Clench your feet. And then relax. And again, tighten all the muscles in your feet and legs. And relax. And now tighten all the muscles in your stomach and chest area. As tight as you can. And relax. And again, tighten all the muscles in your stomach and chest area. And relax. And now tighten all the muscles in your fingers, hands, arms, shoulders. You can make your fingers into a fist and keep everything as tight as you can. And relax. And again. And relax. And now close your eyes for a few moments and tighten all the muscles in your face. Pull your ears back, your face muscles and neck muscles, and relax. And once more, tighten everything and relax. And now all the muscles in your body. Tighten every single muscle in your body. Feet, arm, hands, legs, chest, stomach, face, neck, everything. As tight as you can and relax. And once more and relax. And now breathe. Breathe in through your nose. Let oxygen fill every cell in your body. And as you breathe out slowly on your out breath, allow any tension in your body to release. Just do a little check in your whole body And just let all the tension release on your out breath. So breathe in and breathe out. And allow your breathing to settle into a gentle rhythm. And with every breath you take, oxygen and peace enters every cell of your body. And it dislodges all the tension. And you release that energy on the out breath. So feel yourself grounded here and now in this present moment. And let your breathing settle into a gentle rhythm. This moment now is perfect. Thank you. You can open your eyes now. You can feel the difference in your body, in your mind. Yes? Just a sense of grounding yourself. When we just relax the body and relax the mind and relax our breathing. This is just the first step. This isn't you're not thinking yourself anyway. You're not conceptualizing yourself. You're just coming back to a natural place of physical being, which is a first step. Very important. When I was talking about the reactions earlier, our reactions have created certain sanskars in us, habits in us. And those habits have created our nature. And so our nature, of course, it's a part of our identity. These reactions have almost, because they're wired into our nature and our neurons are firing off like that, we feel that's natural to be in until we get sick. Because at some point, if your whole system is on constant overdrive because of reactivity, there will be a cost for it. And the cost will come out through illness in your body. I had the good fortune to have a COVID experience here in India 1.5 months ago. And what I realized was that the seed of this mental upheaval, a mental fluctuation, contracting COVID was just right at the end of the line. But the first one was the feeling in my mind of not being able to cope in a particular situation. And as that feeling increased, the feeling of pressure increased with it. And at some point, I knew I was going to get COVID, and I got COVID. So so much about the door that we open to illness at any level begins with the instability of our own minds. And you know, what is your mind? Actually, it's nothing. It's only an energy of the soul. You know, you think of the energy of fire and then sparks that fly out of the fire. So the mind is those sparks. Thoughts are those sparks. Your mind is thought power. But the substance of the energy that drives your mind is the spiritual substance of the soul. And the soul is an energy of incredible quality, peace and goodness and love and wisdom and trust and openness. And how can I say this with so much confidence? Because in this life, even when you were born like that. Look at a baby. Do you think a baby was born in this life with doubt? Every soul that is born into a tiny little baby's body is born completely in soul consciousness, means in full trust, full openness, full receptivity, full purity, full love. You arrived into the world like that. So that state is possible. It's just along the way, you lost connection with that state. And it's possible to be a child and a master. We've collected intelligence, we've developed wisdom, we've learned how to apply our values in our life so that we don't just remain innocent and naive, but we remain mature and yet childlike. The purity, what is a baby's purity? Does it ever remember what anybody has done? It'll go to anybody and everybody. Does it differentiate between caste and color and language? No. And, you know, in its early stages, the baby is just so loving and loving through its eyes. It just wants to give love, receive love. And up till the first 7-8 months of a baby's life, it actually cannot differentiate separation. It cannot differentiate you from it. That process only kicks in at around 7-8 months for a little baby. Right? So what we see is that we've actually arrived in this world in a state of purity, in a state of that originality, of that innocence, of that naturalness, of that spontaneity, of that beauty. Where did we lose it along the way? From that kind of unconscious self-awareness, we started to become self-conscious. You know, as a teenager, when you grow up and suddenly everybody's telling you you're from this family, you're from this place, this is what you have to become, you have these friends, you start becoming conscious of your body, conscious of your label and your skin and your culture and your religion and that consciousness is what we call body consciousness. And then you start living your life based on those conscious pieces. Oh, well, okay, I belong to this family, so then I must have to do this. Okay, well, if this is what my education is telling me that I have to do this, oh, well, this is what the culture I belong to is telling me I have to do this. Well, who am I in the middle of all this? So what meditation helps me to do is bypass all those labels to start reconnecting with that little soul, that child so master inside, and to start feel myself all over again. Because when you think of a little baby, it is a master. It's a master of the household. I have never seen babies suffer from a crisis of self-respect. I have never seen babies lack confidence. They can walk into the room, crawl in, shout and scream. They'll command the whole room. If an adult was to do the same thing, you would send that adult to a mental hospital. So, you know, what I see is that state of purity isn't naivety. It's a very natural intelligence that can bring harmony, that's beyond the artificial construct of just superficial thinking. And that's what we call being soul conscious is about. And one of the practices that's very important to help us start to be again is what I call the detached observer. You know, when I talked about the 4 different animal reactions that we live in the world today, the turtle, the fox, the shark, the teddy bear, and we go from one to another because one's a passive reaction, the other's aggressive reaction, and we float between both. Well, when we start to meditate, guess what happens? We start to adopt the position of the owl. You know, one of the things about the owl is it can rotate its head. So it's got a 360-degree perspective. And it's got what we call a balcony view of things. And so as we start to cultivate a detached observer position inside, we can continue to stay engaged where we are without getting trapped, without losing our consciousness in something. And this is very, very important for us, because practicing this particular pose or position inside will help me to stay connected to my own wisdom. You know, at the end of the day, whatever is happening, every person comes with their own karmic puzzle. You have your own unique karmic pickle. And I cannot solve your karmic pickle for you. You have to untangle it yourself. But I can support you with my vision, with my feelings, with my presence. Because you know, what is the spirit? It's lightness. The soul is light. And so what does it mean to stay spiritual? It means to stay light in every aspect, to stay light in your mind, to stay light in your feelings, to stay light in your words, to stay light in your actions. Keeping lightness alive is a very, very powerful basis of remaining spiritual. I remember with Daddy Ji, who passed away last year, unfortunately, I often used to ask Daddy Ji, what is your effort, Daddy? You're the administrative head of a big organization, so many thousands of centers in 120 countries worldwide. But what's your effort? And you know what she would say? To keep my feelings clean and light. It's really simple. And I used to think, gosh, it's so simple that when we're looking after ourselves, imagine looking after a baby. You're not going to want the baby to roll around in mud. Always trying to keep the baby clean, make sure it's well dressed. It's the same way. The soul is the same. The energy of the soul is pure, clean feelings, good feelings. Why do we let those feelings become dirty? Yeah. So I feel that starting to become aware of the fact that I have to care for this little soul and the pure feelings of this soul inside means that I can start to relive my goodness again. So in the last few minutes, I want to take you through a little exercise in being a detached observer. Okay. So wherever you are, again, sit up straight. It's very important in meditation that we keep the spine aligned, because when it's aligned, it allows energy to flow, oxygen to flow, and we can stay alert. So I'm going to ask you once again, wherever you're sitting, to become fully present. Just check in with your body. Just take a couple of deep breaths in and out. Release any tension you may be holding. And let yourself become fully present now. and enjoy being in this present moment now. And now, let's turn our attention inwards. And I'd like you to visualize turning inwards. And your mind is like a room that's inside, and there's a door to that room. Walk up to the door and open it. Go inside the room. If there's anybody else there, ask them to come back later. This is your time for yourself. And now you can imagine this room as you wish. Make it as comfortable as you want. Decorate it however you would like. This is your personal and private space. And feel the beauty of that room. And now in the middle of that room is a comfortable chair or sofa. Go and sit down. And as you relax into that chair, sofa, it's like after a long day, you take off your coat and your clothes and you just hang up all the labels of the day and the tasks, and you can just be here and now. And in front of you, there are two large windows from floor to ceiling. And as you look out of those windows, you see a busy street. Lots of cars moving, traffic. It's a windy day and the trees are bending in the wind. It's a busy world outside. And as you observe what is happening outside, you become aware of yourself inside, in your quiet and peaceful room. I am inside, observing the world go by outside. I am in the game, and yet I am inside, in the cocoon of my personal space. And you become more and more aware of the growing calmness and stillness and peace inside. And you say to yourself slowly 3 times in your mind, I am a peaceful being of light. I am a peaceful being of light. I am a peaceful being of light. And the light of peace fills your inner room and space. I am inside, and I am a peaceful soul. A detached observer of life. And yet, as my mind is filled with that peace, the light of that peace emanates out through my eyes, through my attitude. It vibrates from my being, making me into a peaceful contributor in this world now. And as I let this light of peace fill my mind, and then I see it filling every cell in the body, I let myself become a lighthouse of peace. And these vibrations of peace are my subtle and powerful contribution to the world. And now slowly open your eyes and look out in front of you and remain aware of yourself inside as this being of peace, looking out through these eyes. Again and again throughout the day. This is so simple. Every so often on the hour, give yourself a few minutes to relax. Give yourself a few minutes to return back to this position, being a detached observer. And as you do that, you will start to feel more and more comfortable inside yourself. And when your feelings change, then your thinking will also slow down and start to change. Thoughts are the end result of something much deeper. It's like the iceberg principle. You see the tip of the iceberg, that's the thought. But underneath, 80% of the substance is your ability to be and to feel your peace inside. So I hope that this kickstarts a positive onward session for you and helps you to orientate yourself as to where we need to go when we meditate and what we need to do. Thank you.
If there are some questions from the audience, so please share in the chat box. So I request Sister Gopi to please take a few.
Sure.
And by the time the audience respond, I have a couple of questions with your permission. Right?
Sure.
So this is a wonderful, awesome experience for me for this. I'm meditating for the first time basically. So it is good. One thing I observed after every session of meditation, my body temperature goes down a little bit, maybe around 1 degree or maybe 1.5 degree. So this is, I don't know if it is good or bad or what is the cause and effect of that. So this is one thing. And other is, yes, of course, just maybe for the sake of repetition, I would try to summarize for the sake of, audience perspective also. Yes, this is the need of the hour, meditation. And I have learned a lot personally. My takeaways are huge. I have noted down on my diary, 3 pages are filled with this, so precise, concise, yet very useful information shared by Sister Gopi ji. So we are all living in our own world of experiences and all that. So as Gopiji said very rightly, there are different ways and means of meditation, and so-called Swamijis are there. So it is very difficult and challenging to get the right stuff also in this era. Just thanks to digital technology and thanks to Mukesh Agarwalji and his team, they have on this stage, is on this forum. So they have taken so much enlightened people who are in the right direction and enlightening others. So my whole perspective about the soul concept is, I mean, really changed and got a new wisdom out of that. Soul is, I mean, intelligent energy. It is very new perspective for me also. So we sometimes ignore. Of course, we generally do not get some time to sit and relax. But still, yes, that's why there are suffering, I think. So one my question to Sister Gopi ji, this is just one question. There are so many sorrows in life. In everybody's life, there are challenges and sorrows that can be, cause can be different, that can be corona or accident and all that. So how to cope up with that, and why it happens. Like we come fresh, as a small child consciousness being. So how that karmic reaction is related to our sorrows, please? Thank you.
Okay, first of all, every time you align back with yourself inside, something in your physiology is also aligning. In fact, it kickstarts a healing process in the body. Because if your consciousness is always on red alert and reactive, your body is tight. And of course, when anything's tight, the temperature goes up, the blood pressure goes up. The moment you start to meditate and align back with yourself and reconnect with the soul, suddenly the relaxation creates a physiological sensation. So for some people, the temperature will go down. For some people, there'll be a feeling of being lightheaded. It doesn't matter. That's just your body rebalancing itself. I know there's a couple of questions here that's linked to this about when to meditate. What's the best time to meditate, which I want to tackle first before actually answering your question, Deepak Pai. That they say science has told us that the first 10 minutes of your day, whatever feelings you create in those first 10 minutes and thoughts that you think sets your mood for the whole day. So by far and large, the best time for meditation is first thing in the morning. To wake up, refresh yourself, take a glass of water, create a space for yourself and sit. And for how long? Minimum 20 minutes. Minimum 20, because that's how long it takes for your mind to start absorbing and going into the depth of something. We just touch the surface in a few minutes here. Imagine if you let that go deeper, that whole feeling will completely rewire your brain neurology. It will rewire your whole mood, and then you're protected by your own mood throughout the day. Whatever feelings you create in the morning, it creates like a subtle vibrational fortress that we call the mood. And everybody knows how powerful the mood is. If you have a good mood, even something bad looks good. But when you're in a bad mood, even something good, you'll find complaints with. So morning time is a very precious time. And it's really important to safeguard that for yourself. So instead of waking up in the morning and saying good morning to your mobile phone, I would say put your mobile phone, switch it off as far away as you can from your bed, wake up and say good morning, soul, good morning, God. And really aim to start making the best possible use of that first 10, 20 minutes of your day so that you can start with the most positive feelings. And then, of course, in between the day, take a break to reconnect with that base. And at the end of the day, before you go to bed, is a very important time too. Why? Because you're preparing your mind before you go to bed. You're relaxing it, you're releasing it, and you're lightening the load on your mind. What happens when you go to sleep is that whatever's in your short-term memory seeps into your long-term memory. And if there's unresolved issues weighing on your mind, then you will end up dreaming, because your subconscious mind is trying to organize all this information it's received in your short-term memory, in your conscious mind. And so you'll start to have these crazy dreams, and you wake up in the morning and you feel like you haven't slept. And so it's so important in the evenings to have a little bit of a practice, either have a journal, write something, and then to reset yourself back to zero. Back to, I am a peaceful soul, I'm a child of God, I'm going to sleep now. That's it. You know, our former administrative head would say, I'd ask her, how do you stay so light? She said, well, Act 1 of Scene 1 has finished today. Act 2 of Scene 2 will begin tomorrow. So why should I carry that with me? It's a big play, and each drama every day is a different scene. So let me just close that scene, release it from my mind, and go to bed. So that's very, very important, this self-care. You do this for 1 week, and you will see a massive difference in your mental resilience and your mental freshness. It's a very, very powerful thing to top and tail your day. Now, we come to the subject of sorrow and reactivity, because the key, these two are closely connected. Our reactions have brought us sorrow. Now, you know, I want us to look at something at a natural level, which we can't ask why, because it's the law of entropy. Anything that arrives in a potential state eventually has to arrive to a spent state. It's the law in nature. If you look at a grain of salt, right, you put it in water, eventually it'll dissolve. It won't remain a grain. Then we don't say to the grain of salt, why does that happen? That's natural. When somebody's young, the potential is great, then it grows old, it matures, and then the soul leaves the body, takes another one. This is part of the entropic process of life. How we are in it is what is the most important thing. You know, when I look at nature, nature is so honest. If I look at the seasons, I live most of the, well, my base is the UK, and we have the 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter, right? But we never question, why is there spring? Why is there then summer? Why is there autumn? And, you know, you look at the same tree in spring, the leaves are blooming, but the tree never goes, oh, look at my leaves, look how beautiful I am. And that same tree in the winter is completely stripped of all its leaves, bare, naked, and it's being exposed to the snow and the harsh wind. And yet the tree isn't hiding itself because it's naked. Whatever it is, as it is, it withstands it, and yet it continues to grow. And so we have that same capability inside ourselves when we are connected with our essence. We can handle the ups and downs of life. So I suddenly start to develop this perspective of life where, instead of being a human being having a roller coaster ride experience, and then occasionally, you know, connecting with the soul, can I start to consider myself to be a soul inside, just having a human experience? And part of the human experience is happiness and sorrow, victory, defeat, praise, defamation. And yet I can walk through all of that, and I can remain stable in my self-respect. Sorrow happens when we over-identify with one of them. So if I want to be praised, and I want the praise, then bet your bottom dollar there'll be somebody around the corner that will defame you. And so the human part of our journey is a dual experience. But the spiritual experience is a holistic experience. So when I consider myself to be a soul, I can start to neutralize myself to these polarized reactions. And I can create much more stability inside myself. But it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice because, you know, we're so used to coming into action. We're so used to being body conscious. We're so used to getting excited about the human experience. We don't get excited about being spiritual. We don't spend as much time, and everything is mathematics. However much time and energy you invest in your mind, that's what you're going to get back out again. So timings are important. Fixing those times are important. It's me time. And just starting the journey now. That's really important. And, you know, in our homes, and especially when we're with our families, it's important to find a space where you can meditate. If you can't, I can bet your bottom dollar there is a nearby Brahma Kumari center somewhere. Because, you know, all centers, they start meditating at 4 o'clock in the morning. The doors are open from 4 o'clock in the morning. And there's such an incredible vibration at that time of the day, so powerful, between 4 and 6. And then after our meditation, we read, we read something uplifting together, we churn on something to give food for the mind, and then we start our day. So until you've nourished the soul, when you try to start your day on an empty battery, you're not going to get very far. So it's extremely important at the beginning phases to, you know, let yourself, if you can in your own home, create that environment, create a space for you to meditate, or go into a communal gathering to meditate, because that will help you a lot. And eventually, as you arrive at a place of stability, your own peace and love will heal you. And you know, something else happens also, is that as we start to practice meditation and we tune our consciousness to a spiritual frequency, we start to receive God's help and God's love. Because just as this body has been created by two human beings, the soul is a child of God. It's like having a third parent. And when I tune myself into that spiritual frequency, God is a spiritual being, not human. It's a spiritual energy, a spiritual essence of being. And so whatever that ocean of love, ocean of wisdom, ocean of knowledge, I will start to be able to download that vibration in my life, in my heart, in my mind. I will start to feel loved by God. And that has the ability to heal and bring together all the broken pieces of the heart together. And so, yes, soul consciousness is the doorway to God consciousness. And it's at the level of God consciousness that we can truly start to clean and heal from our past wounds and sorrows. Okay.
Thank you so much, Sister Gopi. If there are any more questions, please you can write in the chat box. And after this session, there will be a small session of Mukesh Agarwal Bhai also for 15-20 minutes on Thoughts Lab. So very well explained, Sister Gopi ji, about this concept of, you know, soul and how to become soul conscious. And finally, final statements are very, I mean, for me, it is very, I'm taking it very seriously. Final statements of yours, like meditation is what I could, I mean, transpire through all this. Meditation is the bridge between the soul connection, how we connect the soul with the super soul or the God consciousness. So this meditation plays a very important role. It is not just a physical exercise or sort of thing, but it is a bridge for, you know, connection. So this is very, very much impressing and great learning for me. Thank you so much, Sister Gopi.
Thank you, Deepak Bhai. Thank you, Mukesh Bhai, and thank you, Chitra Ben, for this opportunity. And I leave you with two words that are very famous in the Brahma Kumaris. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Yeah. Om Shanti, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, this was a wonderful session. And special thanks to the organizing team, especially Mukesh Agarwal ji, Chitra ma'am present here, Dr. Vinita Mathur, and all the technical team. So Mukesh ji, I think you will take another 15-20 minutes time for the concluding session of today's. So please, over to you.
Thank you, Deepak sir. Although I need at least 1 hour, but total time left is just 15-16 minutes, so it will be difficult to complete the session in remaining time. I would like to do one thing. I'll take 10-15 minutes now, and if possible, I'll request Chitra ma'am or Vinita ma'am to give me one more session tomorrow for half an hour. Then I'll be able to complete. But all the participants, I will request you to switch on your video and we would like to do some stretching exercise before starting, because meditation is a subject. It gives so soothing feeling, so peace in mind. Sometimes we haven't experienced such a great peace in our life, and what happens? Soul becomes start feeling